here's a little sneak peek of what we're making this week. Hello everybody, welcome back to Flower Club. We have a very flower heavy week this week and a little bit Christmas adjacent because it's December, so why not? Let's introduce our flowers. We have a lovely spray chrysanthemum. You might have white or you might have a deep burgundy. We have these tiny little glasshouse chryses. We have white sweet William and a little bit of cypress. Beautiful, lots of flowers. I'm going to design into my trusty white ceramic vase. I do recommend something with a little bit of a kind of larger opening. We have a lot to fit in. I think this one's about 10 centimeters. So if you got something like that, that'll work perfectly. This will also work beautifully as a table centerpiece. If you have a lower vase, that works beautifully too. But let's get started with prep. I will start with just my chryses. And there are hundreds of varieties of chrysanthemum. They come in all different shapes and sizes. And I'm just gonna remove the lower leaves. As per usual, how did everyone go with their wreath making last week? Was it a challenge? Was it fun? Did you say that was so difficult? I'll never do it again. I hope it was fun. I had a lot of fun with Dee. She's back there. All right, so for our little button chryses, we'll just do the same thing, removing all the lower leaves. I'm gonna leave a few in the center here. I want it to be quite bushy in the vase and nice and full. So if you leave those on, that's the kind of look it'll give. Or if you do choose to remove kind of more of these inner leaves here, it'll just give more focus to the color of the flower. Whatever you prefer, but I'm gonna leave it nice and full. All right, and now for our gypsy. I'll just prep this by, same thing, removing the lower leaves. I'm gonna go pretty far up and just leave the cute little flower head by itself up there. There's quite a few in the bunch, so this might take you a little bit of time. And Gypsy is part of the same family as Sweet William. You'll see that this, you might have seen Sweet William before, you might have seen Gypsy before. They're from the same family, but they are different. So this just has the single densely packed bloom on the top of the flower head, on the top of the stem. And then the Sweet William has lots of little branches, the same kind of flower, but just not as densely packed. So that's the difference if you ever do come across them in a flower shop or in the garden. Now you know. Do be careful with, it's like when we had our carnations, sometimes these little nodules do kind of create a bit of a weak point. So when you're prepping, just try to be careful. I was, pulling off the tiny lower leaves up here, and my mistake, really I should have been holding it at the point above where I'm stripping off the leaves, not below, because then I'm just pulling the head down and causing casualties. Got my white ceramic, and I've just taken off the lower leaves of my cypress as well. You'll see that the tips of this cypress are a little bit yellow. It does sometimes grow like this. So I have mentioned a couple of weeks, I think when we had our, probably last week actually, with our gum, that spring and early summer is lovely for, getting a bit warmer. It does mean that our foliage does go through a growth spurt. And so just like with our new growth on the gum, the new growth on the cypress is a little bit yellow. It's not dying or rotting or old, but it's just a little bit new. So you can leave it on or you can trim it off, either or. I'm gonna leave it on because it doesn't really bother me, but if you do want to trim it off, just make sure you're cutting don't cut like straight across. Try to cut right down into where one of the new kind of bits of one of the new leaves is coming through, so you don't have kind of a flat topped edge. If you know what I mean? Am I explaining myself? I'm not sure. In goes the cypress, nice and simple. And I'm going to start with my white chryses, which may be a burgundy color, depending on where you are. Nice and tall. I'm going to keep these quite tall, almost use them as a foliage in a way. Cutting on a 45 degree as per usual. And keeping this one, so I might keep these a little bit lower. Measure against the vase, snipping off the excess, 45 degree angle equals happy flowers. I've popped in my chryses, creating a little bit of almost like a foliage backing, like how we would put our foliage in. I'm kind of using them as a foliage flower hybrid. And I'm going to go in with my color, obviously because mine's all white, it'll be color, but if you have the burgundy, this will be a beautiful complement. Then with the pop of white, stunning. Okay, and these I'm just gonna kind of nestle through like this. And then my Gypsy is gonna kind of be a little bit of a pop down here and covering the lip of the vase. So kind of is that nice finishing touch that we like. And then it's always good to go through when there's lots of little blooms like this, just to cast your eyes over, just to make sure there aren't any that have bent or broken or ones that you're not happy with. I found one. And just cutting it. If you're ever cutting off anything like that, or like with our cypress, just be sure that it's flush, no headless stems roaming around, because they'll just pull the focus in your vase, and you don't want people looking at all the weird bits. Don't look at the good bits. Hold it against your arrangement, see where you want to put it before committing. Alrighty, so I've been placing my little Chrysies throughout. A little pop of colour here, pop colour at the back, and now I'm going to create a little pop colour down here. These ones will be quite short down the front here, like this. And because these do like to stand straight up and looking, because they kind of stand straight up, you don't get always get the full effect of their beautiful colour when you're standing in front of it. So for these lower pieces, I'm going to kind of angle them down in the vase this way. And so they're kind of looking at you a little bit more, and we'll be able to see all of their beautiful colour. All right, so this is where I'm at the moment. I did have one of my taller Chrysies over here, but I wanted to group them a little bit more because it looked like bunny ears. It was just like one white here and one white here, kind of sticking up a little bit too high. So I cut one a little bit shorter and made a few levels. And now for our gorgeous Gypsy, I'm going to put some low, and then I might place a few up high, some of my longer pieces. I'm creating a little cluster through this line here. Covering the lip of the vase just gives a really beautiful finishing touch and makes it look kind of finished, just a nice cherry on top. So that's what I'm going to do with my Gypsy. So from the front, you don't see where the flowers in the vase meet. I'm utilising all these little tiny pieces just to fill, if you see any kind of holes, little dark patches of, where there's no flowers and you just want to plug the hole, you can utilise those little ones. So never throw any stems away until the very, 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 very end. That one's simply not strong enough. Because you never know. These tiny little ones might just be the last little finishing touch you need. All right, and we are all done with our Christmas-ish vase arrangement. I hope you enjoyed this week. There's a lot of flowers this week, so if you do want to make a couple of smaller arrangements, big bedside table, your coffee table, there's definitely enough flowers to do that. But I've made one big one, and I like it. And I think it's getting me in the Christmas spirit. And I hope it does for you as well. I can't wait to see you next time. Happy designing. Bye.